Join me next for a fascinating interview already in progress with Dan McDermott, Chart Guys Dan.
Yeah, I'm down to talk about anything, and I'm just setting up right now and plugging in my headphones and stuff.
Yeah. Cool.
So
Yeah.
you are a trader yourself.
Yeah, I'm a trader myself. I haven't got that into cryptocurrency as of yet, but all my friends call me up on a daily basis and give me a hard time about that.
I'm sure.
But I'm a fan, and it's nice to meet you. I've been one of those guys who's watched YouTube videos for years, and I've been watching your videos for a few years now.
Wow.
I think you do a great service to a lot of beginners and other people too.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I come from a background where technical analysis is thought of as definitely a tool, but it's not relied on super heavily. So, but the way you describe it and lay it out makes a lot of sense to me. But yeah, I just want to ask you about yourself and your business, and I have some speed questions for you and stuff like that. And maybe we could have some fun.
Sure.
Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll do like an intro later or something like that, but let me see if I'm got stuff going here. Yeah, it looks like I have got stuff going, so we could just sort of start. And what I've been doing lately is I'm not doing live stuff or anything, but I'm just sort of editing it later and then putting up a video once a week on YouTube.
Great. Yeah, I checked out your channel. Looks like some good stuff. I'm surprised you don't have more viewers and followers because the content's definitely worth it.
Well, I just started.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just started, and I thought it was an interesting thing to focus on traders because of my trading background. So, but as I said, I found you a couple years ago. I think you're doing a great job with the charting, and I was just wondering, how did you get involved with your business?
Well, it all started back in college, probably 8 years ago. And it was the just not wanting the 9 to 5 grind out of school. I grew up with my dad doing that, commuting 45 minutes in traffic every single day. And I wanted to avoid that. So I thought, okay, I've got $5,000 saved up from high school jobs. Let's risk it all. And worst case scenario, I'll have to get a job right out of college like everybody else. And fortunately, it worked out. I entered in a time when I was actually interested in the U.S. marijuana stocks, and it was just I walked into a bull market, so I lucked out in that regard. But realized very quickly I should figure out what I'm doing, and just started the search through forums and YouTube videos and articles. And I did find a mentor in one of the forums who was very kind and generous and answered all of my questions and was a guide that I didn't rely solely on him. I used him as a information source, and then I would go out on my own and dig deeper. So I did that for years and years, and realized that I had a knack for conveying the subject just through being in chat rooms with other people and watching them respond to it. And then that led to the creation of the Chart Guys 2.5 years ago.
Where did you go to school and grow up?
I went to school in UNC Wilmington for business management, and they didn't teach us anything about stocks. It was all, leadership and things like that, which definitely have come in handy. But in terms of stocks, that was all on my own. And I grew up in Massachusetts and moved to the South to avoid the winters.
Oh, wow. I'm in Massachusetts right now. So where were you in Massachusetts growing up?
A half hour north of Boston, Andover.
Oh, nice. All right. Yeah, there's tons and tons of kids around there, tons of schools.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you have a most disarming voice, and you seem very organized. And I think as soon as people hear you, they feel comfortable. Charting can be, in fact, the market in general can be a really intimidating thing when you come to it. And having someone just kind of lay things out in a simple way and explain things simply is a huge benefit to tons of people. And I know I'm not just speaking for myself when I say tons. You must have taught hundreds of people how to, learn how to trade and view charts.
Yeah, it's honestly the biggest motivator for me at this point. I just said I went to avoid the 9 to 5, and here I am every single day, 7 a.m. to 5, doing this. But it's because of the messages and the responses that I get, and it clearly is helping people, and that keeps me motivated to keep doing it and keep putting in these hours to do it. So it's a lot of fun, and it's really a mutually beneficial experience where my trading the last 2 years since I started doing this full time, teaching people, has definitely improved leaps and bounds just from explaining everything and seeing it myself, and just time repetition, just chart after chart after chart. It's benefited me and it benefits other people, and that's a mutually beneficial relationship.
Now, when you were talking about marijuana stocks that you started with, what marijuana stocks were around a couple years ago? Because I know obviously they're not legal here yet in the United States, and there's definitely a bunch of Canadian ones around now. But what was going on a couple years ago in that arena?
It was actually 7 years ago, and it was
Oh wow!
yeah, it was there were 8 total companies: MJNA, CBIS. There's still a few of them. They're all still around. ERBB. They're penny stocks. They're high risk, high reward. They're not companies that I would ever invest in, and I learned that very quickly after reading their financials and seeing. I learned what dilution was and convertible debt financing, all of those things that can really hinder a stock. It doesn't matter what the story is or what the hope is of the bulls and the company. If you have dilutive financing, your stock price is going to get hit hard. So I learned all of these lessons, but there was a group of 8 of them that were the original ones, and it was very, very speculative, which is why it ran. And about a year after I got involved is when California first voted to legalize, and they failed. But that was the start where it was like, okay, this is going to be a thing now. And from there, it ballooned. In 2013, there was a huge boom in the sector, and we went from about 8 companies to 300. And it was, old oil and gas companies that were not companies, just changing their names and trying to get in on the hype. And there were tons of scams. It was the Wild West. So I learned very quickly to just trade and get your money, get your profit, and get out. And that's a whole different scenario now with Canada, with legit companies and legitimate opportunities with federal legalization. So it's a completely different market environment and much more comfortable to be in.
Now, those original stocks that were the penny stocks, was it mostly like hydroponic equipment? Is that what they were doing, or what aspect of marijuana were those stocks involved in?
There was hydroponic equipment. There were other ones that were just positioning themselves to get ready. And it was just the story that they were hyping up in the future. CBIS was making claims about one of their products, curing cancer, which it very well could, but the data that they had was not backing up the headlines that they were putting out. And that's where I learned about pump and dumps. You put marijuana and cancer in a headline, it's going to run significantly, which it did, and then it dumped. So I learned very quickly that these companies were just capitalizing on hype, momentum, and headlines, and there was not much substance behind them.
Well, I got into the marijuana stocks, I think like the beginning of last year when we were kind of on the downside of a sell-off. It seems like they became very popular, and so the sort of valuations on them went way up, and people just bought. People didn't look at what they didn't try to value them. They just bought whatever was marijuana, and they sort of all went right up, and then they sort of came crashing down. But now that we're facing, I guess a big date is July of next year for legalization in Canada. Um, and so now that we're facing that date, it seems like things are starting to ramp up again towards then. Do you think it's pretty likely that that's going to happen then for Canada?
That is what the market is saying, and that is what we have a ton of members in Canada. That's what everybody's going for. So at this point, it is being priced in. So we have to be cautious where if there were any kind of delay, there would be significant negative effects in the short term. So that's the kind of news that everybody would dump on very quickly. But as of right now, the market is pricing in July 2018 should be good to go.
And we sort of have to wait in the U.S. until they give sign. Well, it's obviously a political issue, but this current administration doesn't seem to be moving forward in leaps and bounds towards legalizing on a federal level. But it seems like the tide is definitely turning in the United States. I mean, it's something like, it was less than, I think it was 20 or 30% of people in the U.S. were in favor of legalizing a couple years ago, but now it's definitely a majority of people. So it's definitely going in that direction. It seems to me.
Yeah, it's an inevitable amount of time, in my opinion. And honestly, I view this Canadian opportunity that we have as like a pregame, a little appetizer of what's to come. So I'm telling everybody, accrue capital and get ready, because Canada's population is 10% of the US. It's going to be such a different game, and there's going to be money growing on trees again when it happens. And I'm very confident it will happen. So I'm just getting ready, and I'll have a big pile of capital ready. And a lot of people are going to retire on US marijuana stocks when that becomes federally legal, and looking forward to that.
Well, the one that I kind of zeroed in on last year was Afria, and it just made a big move a couple days ago. It ripped the upside on news that they had a new distributor, I think. So I kind of I got out of it to maybe get back in a little bit lower. But yeah, it seems like a layup in a way on these stocks that it's a huge expanding market, and a lot of the companies, like, I'm not very good with like financial numbers and stuff like that, but if you just look at like how little of amount of like land they have to grow, you can tell that they're going to sell out like right away, especially if it goes legal for like recreational stuff. So yeah, I think you're you've definitely tapped into something there. Now I have to ask you, of course, about Bitcoin and the currencies. I was watching your video from last night where you were kind of applying some technical analysis to the way it's trading, and it seems like a sort of a virgin product because there are so many people out there that have never been involved with the stock market that are getting involved with trading this, and so it seems like a real opportunity for someone like you that has the background of being able to chart and being able to see patterns.
Absolutely. And honestly, it makes me really nervous just because so many people, what I call the herd, rushing into things without understanding this game. And now knowing that big money is going to be getting involved with futures contracts and things like that, I just see a lot of people are going to get hurt real bad, I feel like. But this euphoria can't keep up. It just, I mean, if it does, it'll be unlike anything the world has ever seen, which is possible, but I'm not going to be putting my money on that, which is why I'm trading it short term and locking in gains as we go. But it is a whole new frontier. And what it's doing is exactly what you said. It's shifting wealth distribution where, if you have $5,000 and you want to make it in the stock market, the odds are very stacked against you because of how much easier it is to make money when you have money. And these cryptocurrencies going thousands of percent are creating millionaires from, it's not the old money that's passing down stocks to their families that's been running the stock market for decades. It's a complete new birth, and the opportunity, that's the story that's catching with the population and the media is, millionaires created and thousands of percent gains. And so everybody wants to be a part of that. So it is this hype cult movement, and it's going to be very interesting to watch play out, but it's introducing a ton of people to building wealth and being financially savvy and wanting to learn more about charts. Unlike anything I've ever seen. So it's definitely a big motivator. I see people doing the same thing that I started. I started with an idea, putting some money, wanting to have a long-term investment, and then realizing I can capitalize on these movements. I want to learn how to do that. So everybody wants to learn charts right now. And it's definitely a generational thing where people, in their 50s and 60s are not as attuned to these charts as they're used to fundamental analysis. That's the way it's always been. Whereas 18-year-old, 20-year-olds, it's all charts, and fundamental analysis is on the back burner. Definitely important, but charts is very significant, and there's a shift going on, and it's very interesting to watch play out.
I come from the options world. I was an options market maker in Chicago, and our little niche of the world is volatility and historical volatility charts, and seeing where in the range volatility sort of comes back to a certain point. Usually, it's but we were always taught to know our products back and forth, and so any product I was trading, I would certainly know my charts uh, very well. Now, as far as your business goes, how much of your time do you spend trading for yourself versus working on the website and videos for other people? I noticed that you put up a ton of content, and that just must take a huge amount of time.
Yeah, it definitely does. I'm fortunate enough at this point where everything that I do is freestyle, meaning I can pull up a chart and give my analysis in 3 minutes on it, and without having to study and prepare. So that cuts out a lot of time. But the first, where the chart guys is 2.5 years old now, and for the first 2 years, I struggled a lot to find that balance, and I just eventually I was like, okay, I'm clearly not trading as well as I could be if I were not answering all these questions and helping people. So I'm going to stop. And there was a while I didn't trade and I stopped for a few months. And just now with this cryptocurrency surge, I'm picking it back up and I'm finding the ability to balance a lot more. And of course, the 24 hours trading of the cryptocurrency market allows me to focus on it once stocks close and once I'm not doing live broadcasts or anything like that. So, I'll make a video that's 5 minutes long and then I'll look at the chart and maybe make a trade and then make another video. So I'm always just looking back and forth with the market. And even right before we went live right now, I was trading cryptocurrencies and I just sold literally 2 minutes before we went on the air.
Yeah, I'm of the same thing. I'm sort of looking over my shoulder at my monitor
Yeah.
at some of these things right now. It's kind of one of the downsides of doing stuff like during the trading day. But I'm curious as to your community. I saw now you have a separate section where there's different part. Could you describe your website and your business just to somebody who hasn't checked it out before?
Sure. So what we do is we've created a community, a chat room community with a bunch of different channels, whether it's specific to commodities or cryptocurrency or marijuana stocks. And it's just an environment where everybody has the shared goal of wanting to profit and wanting to learn how to read charts. So I have been astounded at how people are answering each other's questions and pointing each other in the right direction and giving guidance and advice. And it really is just such a team experience. And I love so much that stocks does not have to be a competitive individual game. We can all make money together. It's a team game. And the more eyes you have helping each other out, the better. So with the chat room, we facilitate, clean, organized, no pumping and no fear, and very business oriented to stay on task. And we also do live broadcasts twice a day. So I'm live for over 2.5 hours every day,
Oh wow.
just essentially just doing, imagine a sports broadcaster. That's what I'm doing for the market. So I'm pointing things out, saying this is oversold on the 5 minute time frame, get ready for a bounce, and this is a key resistance break, and all things like that. So aside from that and putting out videos, that's basically the main function behind our website, is teaching people, answering questions while live, and providing a community of support. And we also have a new branch of our company, which is our crypto.chartguys.com, and that's an alert system that we built to send out indicators to people's phones or emails when certain conditions are being met on the chart, like oversold dumps or fast movement breakouts, volume spikes. And we've just been building our own proprietary alerts to go into that, and that is so much fun. Where essentially I'm just putting myself in my own shoes of what would I want to be alerted on in this chart, and then as that happens on the chart, we develop these alerts. And it's just really exciting going forward because we have so many ideas. And it's just at this point, we've hired multiple developers and we're just really running with it and having a lot of fun and helping people. People really love these alerts. So keeps people from having to stare at the screen for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And their phone will go off. They'll get an alert. They hop on the computer and they can act on that.
Now, do you employ more people than just you? Do you have outside contractors, or how does that work?
Yeah, we started it with myself and my partner Jason, who I actually met in the forums, and it was during the boom in 2013 in U.S. marijuana. And I was posting on Reddit, and I said, I just made a post like, "Money's growing on trees right now. I can show you things to help you make money." And everybody, was dogging me and talking trash and, "Oh, this doesn't work. And what are you talking about?" But he messaged me and he was a bit interested, and I started teaching him. I taught him technical analysis and how to trade, and he turned $700 into 10,000 the first month and was like, "Okay, I'm sold." So
Nice, nice.
we've been working together for about 4 or 5 years at this point, and I've still yet to meet him. I'm actually going to his wedding
Oh,
next
really? That's
next year.
amazing.
Yeah, I've never met him, and we've been business partners for 2.5 years. It's gone perfectly, and yeah, he was my first real student, and now we're running this. And aside from that, we have about 4 or 5 other people in terms of developers and contractors that help out in the chat room and help post videos and analysis and things like that.
So, they say, I don't know, a lot of people say that like there's a lot of that like only 10 or 20% of traders actually make money in the stock market, and there's huge turnover. And I know from going on Stocktwits that there's always a lot of new people. Do you notice that with your business as well, that there's a lot of people coming and going?
There is a good amount of turnover. The number one reason we get for people, we definitely get, people blowing up their accounts, which we never want to see. But I could teach the exact same thing to two different people. One person could go on to be a successful trader, and the other person could blow up their account in 1 month. There's so much reliance on the psychology of the individual and their rigid, routine and how much they're taking this seriously. So there's definitely high turnover, but that statistic that you said, I believe it's 90% of traders fail. I want to know the statistic. What percent of traders fail after putting in a year of time into their education? Because so many people say, oh, I want to try this out, and they put money on and they start trading. Well, of course you're going to lose money. Not anybody can just start doing this. You have to invest in your education. And doing so, I learned personally myself, I put in 4 months every single day full time, where I treated education as my full-time job. And after those 4 months, that's when I started to say, okay, I have a grasp on these charts. Things are clicking. It's starting to make sense. I feel like a trader now. So without that education, you're going to fail, absolutely. But if you put in that time and motivation, those statistics greatly sway into your favor. And not everybody's going to be able to quit their job and become a full-time trader, but you can create more financial independence working around your job and swing trading and building wealth and capital. And it's definitely a skill to have, because the whole thing for me is that these institutions and money managers, they want you to think it's too hard and you can't do it yourself. Give us your money, we'll do it for you. But that's really not the case. If you have the motivation, the information is there on the internet. You can learn anything you want on the internet. So you can learn how to be a trader. You just have to stick with it and stay disciplined.
Do you think there's a certain skill set that's required to be a trader? I mean, I've read some of these market books where they talk about having to sort of detach yourself from emotion and this sort of thing. I guess it kind of varies by the person, but do you think there's like a specific traits that characterize a trader?
There definitely are, in terms of how people's brains work. Some people are good with numbers. Some people really don't like numbers and they like painting. So, I mean, they have definitely different mindsets like that. Being able to stay organized. Again, psychology is the biggest factor. If you are unable to control your emotions, one bad trade can blow up your account. You can be successful for a month, and then one mistake, if you do the wrong thing and you get emotional, that can wipe out an entire month worth of gains. So really being able to keep losers small, accept that you're going to lose often, and not succumb to the emotions and the sickening feeling in your stomach or the euphoria and greed. It's really working around that. That is the most important part. I always said that a psychologist would make a really good trader, and we're on the hunt for a psychologist charting analyst. So if anybody out there wants to be a part of our team, we're looking for you.
Oh, nice. Well, I put together a couple of speed round questions here for you. And what it is I'm going to list two things and you tell me which one more applies. Okay.
All
Let's try
right.
this. Okay. Dog or cat?
Dog.
Netflix or YouTube?
YouTube.
Uh, Phone call or text?
Text.
iOS or Android?
Android.
So the next one would, of course, be Mac or PC?
PC.
All right. Laundry or dishes?
Laundry.
Car or truck?
Car.
Coke or Pepsi?
Neither. Kombucha.
Kombucha. Oh, nice. So are you into healthy eating?
Yeah, I'm a organic farmer on the side. It's actually, I call myself an organic farmer trader. I'm not a trader that farms. I'm a farmer that trades.
And so you live in North Carolina now? Is that correct?
Yep.
What's your favorite television show?
Favorite television show? I've been getting into Rick and Morty recently. It's a cartoon that definitely has sparked my interest.
That's hilarious. Yeah, Rick and Morty is really hilarious. Do you speak different languages?
I can get by with Spanish. I went to Costa Rica and Mexico and was able to communicate. Definitely not good grammar, but I got the vocab pretty down.
Is that the only countries you've been to outside the United States, or have you traveled around elsewhere?
Nope, just those few. Going to Canada for the first time for that wedding in 2018, and definitely looking to Ireland and Europe in the near future.
Oh, cool. What's your favorite sport?
Growing up and watching and playing was baseball.
Oh, nice. Who's your favorite baseball team then? Do you have one?
Red Sox.
Of course, coming from the Boston area. My parents are Red Sox fans, but I'm a Mets guy for some reason. But let's see. How often do you stay up past 3 a.m.?
Never. I woke up last night 4 different times to check the chart of Bitcoin because I knew a breakout was coming or a breakdown. So I won't stay up, but I'll set my alarm and keep periodically waking up.
Okay. What would be your perfect weekend?
Perfect weekend is out in nature, camping without a whole lot of people nearby, and hiking.
Would you consider yourself an organized person?
Yes.
Yeah, it seems so from your. Yeah, I love the graphics on your site. You really did a great job with that. Let's see. Who's your favorite entertainer?
Favorite entertainer? Good question. I do love comedy. Louis C.K., comedian. I love the old comedians. Name slipping my head right now, but not George Carlin. He died of cancer young in his 30s. I'll remember it once we're done the interview. But
Of course.
comedians.
Yeah, I can't think of it right now either. When was the last time you were on vacation?
Last time I was on vacation, a real vacation, probably 3 years ago. But now that the chart guys started, I'm definitely always staying connected in some regard.
All right. What is the most important object you own?
Probably the computer.
Do you have like a customized PC setup?
Honestly, no. I've kept it very simple with laptops for mobility. I've been a traveler for a significant amount of time. When I was learning and trading on my own, I was traveling the country, road tripping, living out of my car, staying in national parks and camping a lot. So I was trading on a $300 laptop for years, and now I have a bit of an upgraded system, and the screens and all that, a couple screens, but nothing too fancy.
Wow. That sounds cool. Let me see what else I have for you here. What do you want for the holidays? What would be your one idea for a great gift?
A great gift for the holidays. Good question. There's nothing I need right now. I love honestly, warm clothes. I just bought some wool long johns that I'm really stoked about. So some clothes to get through the cold weather.
Okay, let's see. What other profession would you like to attempt if you weren't working as a website designer, trader, business owner?
For a while, I was looking into working at national parks and being a trail guide and doing the outdoors thing.
Oh, that's interesting. My best friend works as a forester.
Very cool.
So a lot of people have talked about how the market is going to crash soon. They've said, "Oh, we're on an extended rally. It's got to crash soon." Um, how do you respond to that?
I definitely have the same feelings. I do have a contrarian style of things where if, the herd is all looking one way, I'm looking the other way. It feels like an everything bubble that everybody says, but I'm just going to be conservative and protect against that. I'm not going to be making any bearish bets. I'm going with the trend until the trend changes, but I'm not going to get wiped out. I'm a short-term trader, so I love being all cash overnight and having nothing to worry about whatsoever. So I am preparing for it, and I am, I'm trying to work on a course on how to profit in a downtrend because nobody's thinking about that right now because we're in such an uptrend. But there will be a time where things change and aren't this rosy, and we'll be prepared for that.
I mean, you're part of the new age of finance where people don't necessarily do this sort of buy and hold thing where you give all your money to like a stockbroker, a mutual fund, and they just put it in stocks to buy and hold for the long run. That being said, if somebody gave you $1,000 and said, "Look, I'm not really into the stock market stuff, but I've got $1,000. I want to invest it somehow and put it somewhere for a year and come back to it," what would you suggest they do?
Canadian marijuana. That's been my go-to, and I put out a video over the summer to all my friends and family, which I don't normally do. I like to keep the separation, not mixing money with friends and family. But this was a situation, like you said, a layup, and I was sitting there thinking, like, this is such an easy layup. What's wrong? What am I missing? but those stocks, since I put out that video, are up over 100%, all of them. And it's just such an easy opportunity that is nice and easy, and confidence that we're going to see upside in the next 3-5 years.
That's interesting. Do you have any brothers and sisters?
One of each, older brother, younger sister.
Oh, wow. Nice. Well, I picked you out just because, like I said, I've always been a fan, and in my little world of the internet and stock trading and stuff, you're like a pretty important person because I'll definitely I'll look for your videos on different issues, and even if I'm not trading them, I'll look at them a lot of times just to see your take on things. I'm a person as a trader that believes in going to a lot of different places and getting a lot of different people's takes on the market and trying to use that to help me, sort of a trading by consensus type strategy. So I want to thank you for the service you provide. I think you provide a great service for people that are just starting out, and you explain charts in a very straightforward and understandable way, which is something the market really lacks a lot of times. Technical analysis gets a bad rap by a lot of people, and it can be really complex at times when people describe these very exotic type you know I don't know what you call them, the dojis and all those different exotic, what do you call them, like patterns, I guess, exotic patterns. But the way you describe it is really straightforward, and it makes a lot of intuitive sense to me. And I really appreciate you coming on and talking to me for a few minutes too, because like I'm just starting out, and I appreciate you taking a chance with me and giving me a couple moments of your time. And I wish you great luck moving forward. It sounds like your business is going gangbusters, and you've got a great future moving ahead. As far as Bitcoin goes, where will Bitcoin be 6 months from now?
Oh boy. I do believe that we are in for a significant pullback where we're going to drop multiple thousands of dollars, but it's not going anywhere. And I do believe that we're going to break 25,000 on Bitcoin. It's just a question of when. So in terms of, where we'll be in 6 months, I would say likely, it's all a question of, will we have dumped and then recovered by then? I would say that we will be probably in the 20,000 range. I think that there is a lot of upside potential still there. There is a lot of hype, but I do believe, like I said, that big money is going to dump it and scare everybody. And they're just waiting for a little bit of fundamental news behind it that they can get behind. I mean, right now they're saying, maybe South Korea is going to ban all exchanges like China did. If that happens, I do think big money will utilize that to go bearish on the futures and scare a lot of people and cause a dump. So it all depends on the timing of events for where we'll be in 6 months, but cryptocurrency is not going anywhere. And that's why we have been working hard to establish ourselves in this space in terms of, being leaders in technical analysis and really enjoying the opportunity that's providing. So looking forward to the next decade of cryptocurrencies.
Now, and that includes a lot of other ones besides Bitcoin. Are you optimistic on those ones as well?
Yep, there's definitely a few that we need to be keeping an eye on. There's a lot that are going to fail. I would say, 90% of the altcoins are going to fail. And I saw this with other sectors, the marijuana sector, where all these companies boomed up. 90% of them are going to fail because they're just in it for the hype. They don't have the substance, and they're not going to, stay ahead of the curve in terms of innovation going forward. So definitely very cautious on all those names, but Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, the big three, definitely a lot of interest there. And there's a few more, Ripple and Golem and other projects that definitely have some potential, and we'll just see if they're able to follow through with the fundamentals.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for doing this, Dan, and best of luck to you moving forward this year and beyond. I will provide beneath information to get to Dan's website, and I definitely highly recommend it. And as you can tell, he's a good guy too. So thanks very much.
I appreciate it. Have a good day.
All right, you too. All right, so I'll cut it there or something like that. But sincerely, thank you for your time, and best of luck with everything. And keep up with the great videos and stuff like that. Has it been good for you? Have you been making some decent money with the Bitcoin and stuff lately?
Honestly, I think today I hit 1,300% in the last 6 months. Awesome. So just gains that are unfathomable.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Dan. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too. If you are interested, you're welcome to have our entries and exits in crypto course. If you want to just sign up for a free trial at the Chart Guys, I'll approve that account for those courses access.
All right. Thanks. Yeah, maybe I'll check it out. Appreciate that.
And also, if you want to send me this once you process it and send it, I'll upload it on my channel as well if you want, and I can link your YouTube channel, and you'll get a bunch more followers.
That would be great. Yeah, a little cross promotion never hurt anybody. And I'll try to do a good job with the editing and stuff. And I wanted to profile you without it being sort of like an infomercial, totally, but have it be realistic. So
yeah, that went well. I think it'll do good.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks a lot, Dan, and I'll stay in touch with you.
All right. Have a good one.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.